Imagine a book. Not just any book, but one that holds the secrets of a nation's birth. This is the story of the Klebnikov manuscript. It is a copy of a much older story, the primary Chronicle, which tells the tale of the early Rus people. Our story begins not in a grand library, but in a dusty, forgotten corner. The manuscript was found in the 18th century, tucked away in the Ipatiev monastery in Kostroma. This wasn't just any monastery. It was a place with deep ties to the Romanov dynasty, a family that would rule Russia for 300 years. The monastery itself was a treasure chest of history, making it the perfect hiding place for such a precious document. The journey of the Klebnikov manuscript is like a detective story written across centuries. From its creation, around the year 1560, it traveled through lands that are now part of Ukraine-Belarus. It was copied by scribes who carefully preserved its words, but also left their own little marks behind. Think of it as a historical passport, stamped with the evidence of its travels. The manuscript's path shows us a world where borders were fluid and ideas traveled along with merchants, monks, until it finally found a safe haven in the Ipatiev monastery, waiting to be rediscovered. The monastery was more than just a home, it was a symbol. The Ipatiev monastery is famous because it's where the very first Romanov Tsar, Michael I, was offered the crown in 1613. This connection to royal power makes the discovery of the manuscript there even more thrilling. It links the foundational stories of the Rus people directly to the dynasty that would build the Russian Empire. The discovery wasn't just about finding an old book, it was about unearthing a direct link to the very soul of Russian history, in a place already dripping with national significance. It was a monumental find that would send ripples through the world of historical scholarship. We can trace its life through the materials it's made of, the ink used to write it. Experts believe it was created in the Volhynia region of modern-day Ukraine, a place with a rich tradition of chronicle writing. This geographical origin is incredibly important as it places the manuscript outside the dominant historical narrative being shaped in Moscow at the time. It represents a different voice, a different perspective on the shared past of the Eastern Slavs. This journey from the southern lands of Rus to a northern Russian monastery is what makes the Klebnikov manuscript a unique bridge between different cultural and political worlds of the 16th century. So, what makes this manuscript so special? It belongs to a group of chronicles known as the Hypatian Codex family. Think of it as a branch on the great tree of Russian history. It's considered the most complete and accurate version. It preserves a southern Russian perspective on events. At the time it was written, power had long shifted to Moscow. Moscow was busy creating its own official history. The Klebnikov manuscript, however, holds on to an older tradition. That tradition is rooted in the ancient capital of Kiev and in the southern principalities. This southern viewpoint is absolutely crucial. It gives us a version of history not filtered through Moscow's political ambitions. Chronicles from Moscow often change details. They altered accounts to favor their own city and to favor their own rulers. The Klebnikov manuscript, by contrast, tells a story where Kiev is the hero and where the southern lands of Galicia Volhynia are central. It's like finding a diary from a forgotten cousin. A diary that reveals a completely different side of a family story. It challenges the official narrative, and it enriches our understanding. The manuscript's language and style reflect southern heritage. The scribe was clearly familiar with the local dialect, and with regional storytelling traditions. That familiarity gives the text a unique flavor. It's a vibrant narrative capturing the spirit of its time and place. Reading it feels closer to the source, more authentic. It's a window into 16th century Ukrainian lands, showing how people there saw their own past and their connection to the broader history of the Rus' people. This authenticity is something historians treasure above all else. Because of this, the Klebnikov manuscript is a cornerstone for understanding the history of Russia and of Ukraine. It reminds us the past wasn't a single, straightforward story, but a collection of many voices and perspectives. It highlights shared roots of Eastern Slavs, while also celebrating distinct regional identities. By preserving the southern tradition so faithfully, the manuscript acts as a vital counterweight to other sources. It forces us to ask new questions, and to look at the birth of these nations in a more complex, nuanced way. Our manuscript story takes another fascinating turn when it leaves the monastery and falls into the hands of a passionate collector. In the 19th century, it was acquired by Pyotr Kirillovich Klebnikov, a Moscow merchant and a devoted antiquarian. This is how it got its modern name. Klebnikov wasn't a nobleman or a famous scholar. He was a man of commerce who loved history. He spent his fortune amassing a priceless collection of ancient manuscripts, books icons. He recognized the immense value of this particular chronicle and ensured its safety. But here's a wonderful little secret hidden in its pages. The manuscript contains marginal notes, little scribbles in the margins, written in an early form of the Belarusian language. Close up. These notes are like little post-it notes from the past. As the book was making its journey northward, they are not about grand historical events, but about everyday life. They mention local places, people, and even financial transactions. These scribbles are a historian's dream, providing a snapshot of the manuscript's life as a physical object. These Belarusian notes tell us that the book wasn't just sitting on a shelf. It was being used, read, transported through the lands of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, which included modern-day Belarus. This adds another layer to its international journey. It's a tangible link between the Ukrainian lands where it was created, the Belarusian lands it traveled through, and the Russian monastery where it was eventually found. It's a testament to the interconnected cultural world of Eastern Europe at the time. The manuscript wasn't just a Russian treasure, it was a shared Slavic heritage, and these notes are the proof. Thanks to collectors like P.K. Klebnikov, this precious document was saved for future generations. After his death, his entire collection, including our famous manuscript, was passed to the Imperial Public Library in St. Petersburg, which is now the National Library of Russia. There, it remains one of the library's most prized possessions. From a monastery in Kostroma to a merchant's private library, and finally to a grand national institution, the manuscript completed its epic journey. One of the most exciting things about the Klebnikov manuscript is what it contains that other copies have lost. Over centuries of copying, little bits of text can get accidentally left out. Sometimes passages were deliberately removed by scribes for political reasons. The Klebnikov copy, however, is remarkably complete. It preserves words, sentences, and even entire paragraphs that are missing from other versions of the Hypatian Codex. It's kind of like finding the deleted scenes from your favorite film. These restored passages can honestly, completely change our understanding of certain historical events and figures. For historians, this is like striking gold. For example, parts of the Chronicle about the complex politics of the Galicia-Volhynia Principality are much clearer and more detailed in the Klebnikov version. These passages provide invaluable insights into the power struggles, alliances, and social structure of this important southern Rus state. Without the Klebnikov manuscript, our picture of this entire region would be so much fuzzier. It fills in crucial gaps, allowing us to reconstruct the past with far greater accuracy and confidence than would otherwise be possible. The manuscript is also known for its more accurate readings. Think of it like a game of telephone. Yeah, you know how as a story is passed from person to person, details get mixed up. The same thing happens with manuscripts. A scribe might misread a word, and that mistake gets repeated by every scribe who copies that version. The Klebnikov manuscript is believed to be very close to the original 15th century prototype of the Hypatian Codex. This means it often preserves the original wording where other copies have errors. These small corrections can have big implications, clarifying names and the intentions behind actions. This makes the Klebnikov manuscript the benchmark against which all other copies of the Hypatian Codex are measured. When scholars want to create the most reliable and complete version of the Chronicle, they always start with the Klebnikov. It is the gold standard. It's not just another copy, it is the most faithful witness to a lost original. Its preservation of these missing and more accurate passages makes it an indispensable tool for anyone trying to understand the foundational history of Eastern Europe. It's really our best link to the authentic voice of the past. There is one little detail in the Klebnikov manuscript that sends a shiver down the spine of every historian of early Russia. At the end of a section, it mentions a name, Nestor. It states that the preceding text is the Chronicle of Nestor, a monk of the Feodosiev monastery. This is, honestly, a bombshell. For centuries, tradition has named a monk called Nestor the Chronicler as the original author of the primary chronicle back in the early 12th century. However, physical proof linking him directly to the text has been frustratingly elusive. Most other major manuscripts don't mention his name at all. Is this the long-lost proof that Nestor was indeed the father of Russian history? Or was this name added later, reflecting a tradition that had grown up around the text? Scholars are, well, divided. Some see it as a powerful piece of evidence, a faint echo of an authentic authorial signature that was lost in other versions. Others are more skeptical, suggesting it might be a later scribe's attempt to give the text a prestigious author. Whatever the truth, the mention of Nestor makes the Klebnikov manuscript uniquely compelling in this centuries-old historical debate. When we compare the Klebnikov manuscript to other important chronicles, its value becomes even clearer. The other main version of the primary chronicle is the Laurentian Codex, older but representing a different northern tradition centered around Vladimir Suzdal. The Laurentian is housed in the National Library of Russia in St. Petersburg, just like the Klebnikov. Another key copy of the Hypatian family, the Pogodin manuscript, is also in St. Petersburg. But the Klebnikov copy remains the most complete for the southern tradition, making it an essential companion to these other foundational texts. Ultimately, the Klebnikov manuscript is priceless because it is a rebel. It tells a different story from the one that became the official history of the Russian Empire. It preserves lost words. It offers more accurate readings. Ukraine, Belarus, Russia. It stands as a powerful reminder that history is never a single, simple narrative. It is a messy, complicated, and a wonderfully diverse chorus of voices. The Klebnikov manuscript ensures that the voice of the Southern Rus, with all its unique stories and perspectives, continues to be heard loud and clear, today on October 4th, 2025, and for centuries to come.